And finally, the last component or quality of the online courses that we want to look at is the use of feedback. And we understand that because right now you're focusing on just building the materials for your course, that you're not necessarily going to be using feedback for anything yet. But we think that it's important for you to keep the potential for feedback in mind, just because if you think back to any good online course, the feedback that you were getting made sense for whatever the task was that you were doing, and it was provided in a timely manner. If you took an online course and you haven't gotten feedback for multiple weeks, you kind of understand the frustration that the students get if they're not basically getting any feedback for what they're doing. So one of the main benefits of technology is that it can give real-time feedback for things depending on what you're doing. We talked about using Schoology for formative assessments to get quick checks in. You can use it for doing like multiple choice or tech enhanced items where Schoology will do the grading for you, or you can build in some sort of interactive component where students can actually kind of self-check and check each other's work through discussions or through something else, whether it's Office 365. But just consider all the opportunities for feedback that you can give. I'm going to showcase what some of the options that you have are that you can give for feedback to the student, because there's a lot of cool stuff in here that it's a lot different from Moodle. So if you when we connect this to Schoology, you can add comments, whether they're text, audio, or video. If students make a submission for an assignment, whether it's them typing within Schoology or uploading a document, you can actually ink over top of that document. You can create and use rubrics, and then like I said, you can also use the assessments to have quick scoring. But one thing that I thought was interesting is I used the test and quiz feature when I was filling in for a little bit doing math teaching, and I found that you could actually make it so if a student got a wrong answer, you could give them feedback and have like an automated message that this is what they most likely did wrong if they came up with a certain answer. So that was pretty cool. So let's take a look at what this looks like in Schoology. So if I jump over to a Schoology course, right now I just have this, I have an assignment here that I pulled. It's just from PSSA Writing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on it. When you're giving feedback to your students, you're going to basically see on the right side, you'll see any student who submitted work. And then you can click on that to basically pull up whatever document or whatever they submitted. So in this case, I just created a submission and I just had a sentence in there. So I just want to go through the options that you have. So across this top bar, I mean, you can choose how far you want it to zoom in if you need to see it a little bit differently. But then there's also the opportunity to select text. You can highlight text, so I could highlight if I want to point something out. I can basically choose if I want to cross something out that isn't spelled right or anything like that. I can add comments, so if I want to like make a comment for why I highlighted this or why I'm crossing this out, I can add a comment to it. I can actually ink right on this, and this is where if you like using your touch screen, or even if you have your own personal iPad or something that you would want to kind of do grading on the fly when you're at home, you could actually just ink right on top of this. I could just cross stuff out or circle it, whatever you want to do. You'll kind of get a feel for it as you go. And then there's also potential for uploading a file. So if you wanted to have comments on your own document, you could basically upload a file as giving them the feedback. And then there's also the potential to add audio or video. So there might be times where you think it might be more beneficial for the student to hear your voice as you're giving feedback, or to see your face while you're kind of talking to them, to give it more of a personalized feel. And also keep in mind the students who might have visual impairments, that having the audio would be beneficial for them just because it's hard for them to be able to see any feedback that you would give them. And then I saved my favorite feature for last, and this is the rubric feature. Basically in Schoology, you have the potential to create rubrics within the platform, and I'll show you what the end result looks like. Essentially what you can do is you can build criteria, and you can basically customize what you want the title to be and the description for any of the ones that you choose. You can add or delete any that you have or any of the categories or anything you have created. And then you can also customize how you want the points to show up. So in this case, it used 10, 8, 6, 4 for its points. But you could totally customize this to whatever you wanted. And essentially what you can do is once you have your rubric set up, when you're going through and looking at a piece of writing or something that the students submit, you can basically just go down the line and just click on it based off the descriptions that you have. It automatically grabs your points and creates a total on the side. If you give them a certain rating but you want to modify it, you can also override points. So I could just say that this is 9 points instead of 10, and it'll kind of just know that it's kind of fluctuates in between the two. You can add comments as to why you gave a student a specific rating for a specific category. And once you have that there, you can hit save, and then the student's going to get information about why they're receiving a certain grade that they have. So this just is a quick highlight of the feedback opportunities, and I hope this gives you ideas for how you might want to use some of this stuff in the future. We'll dig into creating rubrics and stuff in future training, or you can refer to our Schoology help page if you want any help getting set up with a rubric.